business.
Now you're most welcome back to the programme. Bobby here with you till 7 o'clock. Prime Dublin retail properties recorded the strongest growth in both rents and values in a league of 54 international cities during 2014. Dublin offices also scored tops when it came to rental growth, up a massive 28% to €484 per square metre. That's according to the latest CBRE survey of rents and yields in more than 50 cities of 2014. Last week we heard that the Irish commercial property returns recorded highest ever total returns on investment at 40.1% during 2014. Larry Brennan, he's the head of commercial division in Savills, and he joins me now. Larry, you're very welcome to the programme.
Good morning, Bobby.
Thanks for coming in, Larry. The commercial property market in Ireland, two strong growth results there that we saw last week. Is the industry on course for massive growth in 2015?
Well, 2014 was an incredible year. It was almost 4.4 billion worth of direct property trade, so it was an incredible year. Do we see that moving on? Yeah, we'd like to think that those levels again will be hit. It's a big balance now as to whether we're going to see direct property trades or loan trades from banks that are divesting. So it's a question as to what form property will come out. But certainly it's going to be a busy year ahead.
And this quantitative easing program that's happening in Europe, the ECB, that's affecting the commercial property market, isn't it? Because it's making money available for, I suppose, people outside Ireland to come in and buy Irish property.
It's making money available, but it's also potentially going to heighten the gap between bond yields and property yields. So as bond yields drop, property looks attractive, and we would see money moving towards property.
Now, Larry, I hate to say this, but we've been lulled into property before at great cost to the nation and to ourselves.
Yes.
Is there a danger that this could overheat? Is there a danger if yields go up to 15, 20%, and too many people pile in, that we'll end up with another bubble?
Okay, well, certainly from an Irish context, and I suppose that's what we have to look at, I think the fundamentals of the commercial property sector are very sound. We've all talked of economic recovery. We can see employment recovery. Employment is driving office demand, and therefore there's fundamental, good reasons behind office rents rising. Employment's driving retail sales, so therefore money's going into tills, so we can see that driving rents in the retail sector. So the basis of the Irish commercial property is good.
But let's move on to retail now, because the growth in retail sales is not really in sync with the growth in yields in retail rental markets. Like, I know last year was probably the best year in retail for some time, but it's still only up, whatever it is, 4 or 5%.
5 point on.
Yeah.
Well, again, there's always a disproportionate correction down, and I think there's again a disproportionate correction on the way back in terms of where yields went out to, and a move in reflects a significant move forward. Retail rents, yes, on Grafton Street we've seen good moves in prime city centre areas, but it's not across the country yet.
And let's talk about Grafton Street and Henry Street, because they really are, I suppose, the barometer of what's happening in the capital city. 25% rise to €2,350 per square metre. Is that going to rise further?
I'd actually think the rent's probably ahead of that even now. Is there potential for further growth? One thing that's come through is that every building is different, and I think groupthink is one thing. If you talk about mistakes that were made in the past, I think groupthink was a mistake that was made in the past. And, one thing that's clear on even Grafton Street and Henry Street is there's good shops, there's bad shops, there's store sizes that the multiples and international retailers want, which will drive on rent there, but it's not every store on the street.
We still have a difficulty, do we not, Larry, with established businesses? Let's talk about my old alma mater, Bewley's. We know what's happened there with that building.
Yeah.
Rent of $1.5 million, where it becomes actually unsustainable for that type of business, and we actually end up then with the wrong mix. We end up with the same high street as every high street in Europe, because they're the only guys that can pay the rent. Does that concern you?
It does, but whether it's okay, we now have legislation with upwards and downwards rent reviews. We've different things that are slightly different. I suppose one of the good things about Grafton Street, and you look at the trades on Grafton Street and the people who've come on in the last 12 months. You've got Andorra Stories, you've got Vans, you've got Levi. Claire's Accessories is really the only pure fashion brand that have opened on the street. So the last number of transactions have all been fashion based, have all been international. I think that's great for the street.
Let me ask you about shopping centres, Larry, and again, places like Dundrum, some of the major ones. How are things going from a retail perspective there?
Well, I think the shopping centres have traded very well. Even in the downturn, we've kept occupancy quite high in the schemes. There hasn't been a vacancy issue out there. The real challenge now is from an owner's perspective is trying to get rents back on par again. There's always a challenge in trying to get new brands in, but no, schemes are certainly around Dublin, Cork, Limerick are trading well.
And just very finally then, Larry, we saw that the IRBC and NAMA, two of the biggest sellers of commercial real estate in Europe last year, at 36%. What does actually that tell us about the property market? Or does it tell us anything?
Well, I suppose it reflects the issue that exists in Ireland in terms of the overhang of property assets that were there. It's great that there is a market for Irish assets. It's fantastic. It shows, confidence in the economy.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming in. Thanks very much that's Larry Brennan there. And good luck with all the property sector for 2015, Larry. Thanks for coming in. Back after this short break.
Breakfast Business, brought to you by Grant Thornton, the